I was convinced to accept the honor of chairing this session with the promise that I might say a few words about Alfred Kastler, which I'm going to do now. One of the things that I feel greatly indebted to Alfred Kastler is that he was the first to come up with the idea of laser cooling. He called it luminorefrigeration. And some of you who may be familiar with this understand that it's not exactly like the laser cooling that we use today, but it has a very deep connection because there's a connection to optical pumping and to pumping a state to a colder state, and in a certain sense, that's what's done in laser cooling. But in fact, that's not really what I wanted to talk about. What I wanted to talk about was exactly what so many of so much of what was already said today was the human aspects of Alfred Kastler. Now, I never had the privilege to meet Alfred Kastler. The first time that I came to the École Normale as a very young researcher in 1983 was the first time that I met Jean Dalibard. I'd met Claude Contenucci at MIT some years before, but I didn't get to meet Alfred Kastler, and the next year he was gone. But the spirit of Alfred Kastler was something that I felt very strongly right from the beginning, and even before I first made a visit to the École Normale. Partly that was through the connections I had with Jean Brossel. When I was a young graduate student, I was often seeking out researchers in the field to ask them questions. And very often, these senior researchers would brush me off, but not Jean Brossel. Jean Brossel was so eager to share whatever he could with this young fellow who was asking him questions. I thought, here's someone who's really different. Well, why? Well, Alfred Kastler. It's what Tillman said. Our history makes a difference. The people who come before us make a difference. People like Alfred Kastler, people like Norman Ramsey in the United States, engendered people like Claude Contenucci and like Dan Klepner in the next generation, and their students and their postdocs caught that same spirit. And as a result, I really feel that those of us who are privileged to work in this area of atomic physics and the various subfields of atomic physics are the heirs of that spirit that has been expressed so well in these talks that Alfred Kastler had, that spirit of humanity, of openness, of generosity, of kindness, that, as I'm told by people in other fields of physics, is not always found in other fields of physics, but is so strong in the field of physics that we are so privileged to be a part of. And not only do we have a privilege of having been part of that wonderful history, but we also have a responsibility to continue that same spirit that Alfred Kastler brought to us and that is continued in the teachers that we have experienced in our careers. It is our responsibility to pass that same spirit on to our students and postdocs and the young people with whom we come in contact, so that spirit that was so strong in Alfred Kastler becomes a lasting legacy for our field. So that's the thought that I want to leave with you. And now I believe someone is going to say something about coffee.